you. Good morning. I'm Aziza Kanji, legal academic and journalist, one of the organizers of the Palestine Tribunal on Canadian Responsibility that will be held in Ottawa this Friday and Saturday. Over the course of 2 days, we will hear from 50 witnesses, including genocide survivors and scholars from Palestine, preeminent international legal experts, and Canadian lawyers, journalists, human rights advocates, and researchers, documenting the multiple ways that Canadian entities have enabled the genocide and dispossession of Palestinians, whether through arms transfers that flow through aliases and legal loopholes, through security measures that continue to treat Palestinians fleeing genocide as the threat to security, through subsidies that continue to fund occupation and genocide under the guise of aid and charity, through Canadian universities that continue to collaborate with Israel's genocide economy, and through the Canadian media, which obscures and rationalizes these crimes of atrocity. Just today, we heard further reports from Gaza of 3 airstrikes in northern Gaza and the shelling of a refugee camp, under a condition of quote-unquote ceasefire in which 242 Palestinians continue to be killed in almost daily violations. For far, far too long, it has been the basic effort to obtain the most fundamental justice for Palestinians that has been represented as radical and extreme. But in fact, it is the opposite. It is the denial of Palestinians' most fundamental legal entitlements that is radical and extreme and completely out of step with the international legal consensus, such that UN experts and bodies have continued to condemn Canada for arms transfers to Israel, even while flows of medical and humanitarian equipment have historically been branded as terrorist activities. The assault on Palestine solidarity is not simply an issue of free speech violations or civil liberties violations, but an inversion of Canada's fundamental legal obligations, not only to not commit and be complicit in genocide, but to prevent and stop genocide and to punish complicity by any within Canada's jurisdiction. We recall during the Holocaust, when Canada turned away Jewish refugees fleeing the Nazi regime and described them in most anti-Semitic terms as pigs fighting at the trough for food. Now again, when we see states' refusal to abide by their international legal obligations, we have convened this People's Tribunal to uphold this sacred obligation to end genocide. Now I turn it to Ahed and Tahir Beseso, survivors from Gaza. Ahed. Perhaps while we're waiting for the mic to work.
Yeah, hello, it's work now?
Okay, yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, because my daughter, she don't understand actually what you're talking about it. I will try help bit because I think will be translated in Arabic, but it was in English, from French to English.
Yes, we'll be we'll be translating in French.
She's speaking in Arabic.
From French to English, yeah?
Yeah, but you will speak in English though, or?
Yeah, I'm speaking English, but I explained to you it's not very well with politics or something like this.
Okay, but I mean, you're speaking very, very good English, so we'll listen at you. Is everything
Mhm.
okay on your side?
I think, but we didn't see you.
Okay, you can,
Yeah.
but you can just talk or yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. We can only talk.
yeah.
No problem.
Okay, so we're listening.
Okay. Can you repeat the question if you ask some question and I don't hear it, please?
Happened to Ahad in
What
Gaza?
happened to what happened in Gaza?
What happened to Ahad in Gaza?
Yeah. Okay. And I let Ahid to talking what happened to her.
Yes.
Actually, all the story, or you need short from the situation when she have the bomb our home.
Yes, just 5 minutes if you can explain about Ahad and her medical situation, the amputation of her leg.
You need me to talking me for about Ahid, or you need Ahid to talking about herself.
Ahad speaking, please.
Okay.
Hello everyone, I am Ahmed. Uh, I want to put my story, but I cannot talk in English. My English is not so good.
Okay, I just want to be clear with everyone. Like, we cannot translate Arabic here, so
Yes, yes.
I
I'm
don't know
sorry.
if Tao want to tell your story instead of telling your own story, because that will be more easier to understand what you want to share with us. If someone can tell it can in
Uh,
English.
I think my dad can tell you.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I think it will be better if you that do so.
Okay,
Okay, only because like we don't have a Arabic translator.
okay, okay.
Okay. I just talking short things about situation what happened to Ahid in Gaza before the war was beginning, and what happened to her in our house. Ahid already she as a normal girls in Gaza with a family, a good family, and with a good situation. And she started to be in the university study as pharmacy, but the start in October. And in 29, in 19 December, she was going to talking with me because we have a plan to make everyday call from Gaza to call me here in Belgium because in this time was no connection in Gaza, and she was in the 5th floor in our building. The tank of Israel shot the place where she was sitting with the signal to be good, and the bombing is coming direct in her leg. And after that, all the family in Gaza, they thinking Ahid is die. But she was lucky because she's sitting beside the frigo, the freezer, and the freezer was on top of her, and she was still alive. My brothers, he's Hani Bisesu. He's normal. He's a doctor, a specialist for bones, and he go upstairs to check what happens because it was my wife screaming and she say Ahid die, Ahid die. They took her from the 5th floor until the ours house in the 3rd floor. My wife, she was preparing for to make bread in the kitchen table, and they take Ahid and put her in the table, in the kitchen table, to looking what happened. She's still alive, or they check what happened to her. My brother was with her, and he say he see the bombing is coming direct in her right leg, and no choice in this moment. He have to take the decision, and he have to do the medical things with the minimum things, because they are occupied in this the place in this time. He used the kitchen table, and he used the kitchen knife. The knife, we use it for cutting vegetable and the fruit, and you use it for the kitchen as any like any knife. And he take the decision to cut her leg without anesthesia, because he don't have any medical in this moment. Because if he didn't do that, Ahid will die, because it's very dangerous to keep her like this. But he take the decision to do that in the kitchen knife, without anesthesia and without anything, just uh, knife kitchen and something like home things to dry the blood and to clean the place where is was the bombing. And he do it. And Ahid, she was screaming, my uncle, please don't cut my leg, don't cut my leg. But he did. And they are staying in the our home. They staying in the our apartment a few hours until Ahid she can breathe. But after that, they took her in the first floor in my our building, because my brother living in the first floor, and they are living. They take the decision to be all the family together in the first floor, because this floor is will be the safety place, because they shooting all the building and any building, but the first one can be little bit safe. Ahid, she stayed there 5 days without any medication, without any food, as good food they can help her to be alive. In the 5 day, in the final, in the end of this day, my brothers, he see Ahid, she will die soon. Uh, he have many hours to be still alive, but he have a small conversation with Ahid. Ahid asked him, Uncle, if you will moving the building, you will take me with you, or you leave me alone here. He say, don't worry. If we take the decision, we take it together, or we live together, or we die together. And he take the decision to use the doctor jacket and white something to be like white to show the army, the Israel army from the door. We They are normal people, and to try to be safe. If the tank of Israel not moving in front our home, but because she is, I don't know, lucky little bit, the tank moving in this day, after 5 days, they moving the area a little bit, and my brother, he go direct, walk from my house and to Shifa Hospital. It is around 3 or 4 kilometers from my house. And he asked from the doctor or uh, the person he found it in the hospital for to help him for anything, for ambulance or for car, to help him to take Ahid from the house to the hospital. But he see the Shifa hospital actually is was everything is bombing, and everything is was kaput, is nobody can be there. But they take the ambulance and they go in our home and take Ahid to go to another hospital. The name of the hospital, Azqa Al Marid. They take Ahid with the ambulance there, but when my brother was there with Ahid, they see 100 or more than 100 people waiting in front of this hospital, need medical support. And he talking with the chief of the hospital about Ahid. The chief, he said to him, sorry, doctor, we don't have any support here. And you see how many people they're waiting here for medical support. And my brother told him, okay, if you let me to do the operation for my for Ahid, I will be under your hand, and I will do the maximum things for operation for people. I will do my best to be available 24 hours. And they make this deal. They found some small place for Ahid. They told him, just give me table and they give me the minimum things, because Ahid, if I don't do the small things, she will die soon, because she was in the hospital in the final hours. And they do it, and they give him minimum things, and he make the operation for my daughter Ahid, and he continue to do operation for many person there, they waiting for medical support. And they stay there a few days until they have their uh, decision. They have call from the Israel army. They have to moving. Everyone have to move this hospital, because they will shoot this hospital. And they take my daughter with a normal car to go to home. And all this situation be day by day, the same things. They bombing everything. They shooting everything. They don't care about ambulance. They don't care about Red Cross car. They don't care about anything. If anyone, they saw him moving any place or walking in any place, they shot him. They don't care. And then when my brother do the operation in our home, he make the video from my daughter with the small operation what he did in the kitchen table. And we share this video, and we try to find solution for Ahid to move Gaza, because otherwise she will lose the left leg, and maybe she lose her life, because it was is very dangerous time and no medical support, as everyone know in this time. We have talking with some people working with BCRF. They ask, they want to help. They talking with me as father of Ahid. They say we can help Ahid to move in Gaza, to take the medical support in America, but you have to make video. You give us.
Are you okay, Tara? You can continue.
Yes.
We're listening at
Okay.
you.
Yeah, okay. I have to give him the proof to I can for me to be okay if I had moving to America to take the medical support. I make video. I told him yes, I don't mind if my daughter she have to move Gaza. In this time, I don't care who is do that. I don't care who is going to help. I care for one things: how my daughter she leave Gaza to take the medical support. And they moving Gaza, but was is not normal situation. If I can explaining, is was like from the south of Gaza until Rafah, the border between Gaza and Egypt. It was like 30 kilometers. This in the normal time we need half hours to be there, but she stay in this way like 7 or 8 hours without any things or with all the danger things. She was in the with the three ambulance moving from the hospital to Rafah. The three ambulance, one first, and the second ambulance was my daughter in it, and the third ambulance was normal people also need medical support. The Israel shot the first ambulance, and everyone in this ambulance die. And they check who is in the second ambulance. When they see my daughter there, they ask him to moving the ambulance outside. The driver of the ambulance told him, okay, this girl, she cannot moving because her leg is one is the cut and the other one she cannot use it. They sent like helicopter in the ambulance to check my daughters, and then they let her to moving. She stay in Rafah as one night in tent. Only these people can be there, and she leaving to Egypt. And after a few days, she have the visa and she go to America. When she arrived in America, they found the medical support. As a normal person, she was not happy to be in America because she believed America and Israel is one face. and but she don't have a choice. The first operation she make it, the professor told her, Ahid, you go now for the operation. We going to try to fix something, but you have to be ready. Maybe you going to lose your second leg because you have infection. You have very too strong infection in this leg, and you have many pieces of metal in your leg. We are not sure we can save this leg anymore, but we will try. But in this time, she don't believe anything, just she believe the God, and she feel that she feel the connection between her and the God will save her much impossible. And she make this operation, and she the doctor save her leg, the second one, and until the make all the medical support in America, like 3 months or 4 months. After that, she have to move the hospital. The BCRF told her, Ahid, this the limit, this the maximum we can do it for you. You have to go back to moving America because we make agreement with the government. When you finish the medical support, you have to move in America. But in this time, we don't have any family in America. We don't have anyone can take care of my daughter there. I am here in Belgium, and also I cannot do nothing because I am as refugee here. The government from Belgium, they cannot make invitation for my daughter to be in Belgium. It's not easy. Yeah, and she have to move the hospital. Actually, she have to be in the street. You can imagine the PCRF take her from Gaza to Egypt to America, take the minimum things of medical support, and then she have to be in the street. This is not justice, and just this not what we need. And actually, I take the decision to bring my daughter here in Belgium. They coming here, they ask for refugee in the airport of Belgium, and they going after 2 weeks. She stay in the close center in Belgium. I mean a close center, like not jail, but can be 5-star jail. Is jail with a little bit support, like food, the minimum thing of medical, like paracetamol they can give for anyone. And they take all her medication. She have to take a very strong antibiotic because I told you she have a very strong infection for her right leg, left leg, and she still have a lot of pieces of metal. This is from the bombing. They take all her medication, and they start to give her some paracetamol or some minimum things to be alive. And in this time, she was very in very bad healthy situation. The lawyer here tried to contact with him, but in the final, she moving the close center. And in the beginning, as anyone know, as a refugee people, we don't have insurance here. Cover ahead to continue the medical support. I was in this time, I have my restaurant. My restaurant was my dream to open my restaurant from 15 years, but I don't have any solution. When I found my daughter, she need the help, she need the support. I take the decision to sell my restaurant to continue the support, the medical support for my daughter, and until she have the first prosthetic. I make for her here like 3 time prosthetic. The final one we received it 1 week ago, and she try now to walk with this prosthetic little bit. And actually, also she need another prosthetic, and after 5 months, and she need a lot of operation for her skin leg because in all the skin in her right leg and in left leg is burned, and they took pieces of her left leg to cover it in her right leg, and she have a lot of things in her skin. We asked to make for her laser operation because her skin as burn 100%, and the Belgium insurance here is not covered any operation with the skin, and we cannot do it here in Belgium, and I cannot pay the cost for this operation because it's cost a lot. I use all my money and I use what I have. I can sell it to continue the medical support for my daughter. And in the 5 or 6 months ago, when I need to make the second prosthetic, this cost here like 8,000 euro. I try to contact with BCRF again to tell him why you do that, why you don't continue the medical support for my daughters. We have agreement together. You will do the best for my daughter, and you will continue for her, and you will help her for to continue in the university and to do everything. You told me many things before to take my daughter from Gaza, and now
Yes.
you delete all the promise, and they say sorry, we cannot make any support for your daughter anymore because that's the maximum things we can do it. But
I
in
know.
in
Thank
just
you. Thank you. Thank you, Taha. I know
yeah,
it's been very difficult for you. For journalists who would like to follow with Taha and Ahed, they will be testifying at the tribunal and they will be available for media interviews as well. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know how difficult it is to have to relive it every
thank
single
you.
time. Now we will turn to Yavar Hamid, the lawyer who is leading the litigation on behalf of the Legal Center for Palestine against Canada's failure to abide by the obligation to prevent genocide. Yavar.
Thank you. My name is Yavar Hamid. I'm a human rights lawyer based in Ottawa. Canada has failed to take all reasonable measures to prevent the crime of genocide in Gaza. That is one of the central declarations requested in a civil action brought by two Palestinian Canadians, Tamer Jarada and Hani El-Batniji. But instead of answering the merits of the claim filed in the Ontario Superior Court of Justice, Canada is trying to strike the case entirely on November 27th. The government argues that the Crown's prerogative in foreign relations makes them immune. They argue that the case has no practical utility. They argue that our client's words are scandalous and overly prejudicial. We disagree. I'm part of a coalition of lawyers and organizations, including the Legal Center for Palestine, who stand with Tamer and Hani in this historic case. At its heart, this case asks a vital question. What is a state's responsibility to prevent genocide? This isn't abstract. It's about Canada's own policies and actions, how they've supported Israel, even as Palestinians in Gaza have been bombed, starved, and driven from their homes. Let me tell you about Hani's case. He was in Gaza in October 2023. For weeks, he and dozens of relatives sheltered under relentless bombardment, hungry, and terrified for their lives. Each time he reached the Rafah crossing, Canadian officials said he was cleared to leave, yet repeatedly he was turned back. When he finally returned to Canada and tried to bring his family to safety, he was told he was ineligible because he was a pensioner. And then there's the case of Tamer. He was in Canada when the bombing began. Nearly all his family was still in Gaza. He watched as Israeli airstrikes destroyed their neighborhood, killing his parents, two sisters, nephews, and many others. Grieving but determined, he applied to sponsor 14 relatives through the Gaza Special Measures Program, but faced delays, denials, and discriminatory restrictions not imposed on others fleeing war zones like in Ukraine. By late October 2023, the world already knew Israel had imposed a complete siege. Food, water, fuel, electricity were cut off. Hospitals destroyed, aid blocked, communities erased. The UN and the International Court of Justice warned that genocide was imminent. And in November 2023, I even delivered formal notice of this crisis to Canadian officials. Canada knew and it failed to act. Worse, it continued military cooperation, authorized arms exports, and granted charitable status to groups funding Israel's military. In doing so, Canada failed in its legal and moral duty to prevent genocide, which is known as the crime of all crimes. It failed Hani, it failed Tamer, and it violated these principles enshrined in the common law and the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. There can be no justice without accountability. We are here to speak truth to power to ensure Canada not only remembers the horrors of war, but acts to prevent them. Genocide must never be met with silence and never excused by the lie that nothing could have been done.
Thank you, Yaver. Now, James Yap, who is leading the case against Canadian arms transfers to Israel.
Good morning. My name is James Yap. I'm a board member of Canadian Lawyers for International Human Rights, and I represent a group of Palestinian and Canadian individuals and NGOs who've brought an application in federal court challenging the Canadian government's continuing arms exports to Israel. The consensus of leading international legal experts is clear and overwhelming. Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Canada has been complicit in the genocide through arms exports to Israel. Throughout the genocide, Canada has been arming Israel both directly and indirectly through arms exports to the United States, which provide 70% of Israel's arms imports. The U.S. military industry relies on arms exports from Canada to supply the weapons that Israel uses to carry out the genocide. This includes parts and components that go into building and maintaining some of the most destructive weapons used in Gaza, such as the F-35, F-15, and F-16 assault aircraft, and the Apache AH-64 helicopter. The International Criminal Court, by its own rules, prosecutes only, quote, the most serious crimes of concern to the international community as a whole. The court, of which Canada is a founding member, has issued an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, accusing him of war crimes and crimes against humanity. And yet Canada continues to arm the government that he leads and enable the ongoing crimes he commits. As the Supreme Court of Canada said in the case of R.V. Cowan, quote, the person who provides the gun is guilty of the same offense as the person who pulls the trigger. In the same way, the Canadian government, by materially enabling the Israeli government's crimes, is complicit in those same crimes. Continuing arms exports to Israel is not just immoral, it violates both domestic and international law. It violates the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which guarantees fundamental human rights, such as the right to life and the right to equality, to all persons regardless of their nationality. The Charter is designed to promote and protect the core values shared by all of Canadian society, and therefore commands respect from our government. Continuing arms exports to Israel also violates Canada's obligations under universal rules of international law agreed to by the international community. In a ruling issued last year, the International Court of Justice called on all countries of the world to honor their, quote, obligations relating to the transfer of arms to parties to an armed conflict in order to avoid the risk that such arms might be used to violate the Geneva Conventions. 3 UN bodies have specifically called out Canada for failing to stop arms exports to Israel through the US. The UN Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, the UN Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and the UN Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination have all called on Canada to fulfill its obligations under international law and stop arms exports to Israel. In this current climate, now more than ever, it is critical that Canada do its part to uphold its commitments to the international rule of law. Our lawsuit and this tribunal have the same objective, to help bring Canada back in line with its international obligations. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Senator Wu, now I invite you to speak.
Good morning. I'm here in my capacity as an independent senator representing British Columbia to show my support for Aziza, for Yava, for James, for Taha, and for all of the witnesses who will be testifying at the Palestine Tribunal on Friday and Saturday. This tribunal, which is led by civil society, by ordinary Canadians, or I should say extraordinary Canadians, reflects a groundswell of discontent in the Canadian public about how their government, how their leaders across civil society, across business, across the education sector, the charitable sector, have failed them in responding appropriately according to the rule of law and according to moral precepts in stopping the genocide in Gaza. You've only heard a small fraction of the type of testimony that will be presented at the tribunal this weekend, at which there will be many other individuals who will be telling stories and providing evidence of how in their respective domains of work, in journalism, in universities, in the charitable sector, in the business community, how those domains of activity have also failed Canadians in responding to what Yava reminds us is the crime of crimes. I'm particularly supportive of this initiative because it runs parallel with a motion that I tabled in the Senate of Canada in June of this year, and which I spoke to on October the 7th, 2025. The motion calls on the Canadian government to examine the risk of complicity in Israel's violations of international law, including war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. 6 senators have now spoken to this motion, all in support of the motion, and I believe the Senate is now ready for a vote on the motion, hopefully successful, which will then call on the Government of Canada to respond by producing a report to tell its story on how it managed, how it assessed the risk of complicity in these serious violations of international law. The motion calls on the government to produce a report within 3 months of the adoption of the report. And I don't know what to expect, but I fear that we may get the same kind of obfuscation and denial that we see in the court case that Yava is involved in. That is why this Citizens Tribunal is a way in which to provide a check and a benchmark for the Government of Canada to do its own assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, and to your guests. Special thanks to Tahas for sharing your story with us today. And this is what concludes our press conference today. Thank you.